awful run of form, because it's just going to be fascinating. But let's stop talking about that. We're going to go into pick and ban. We got Domino Esports on the blue side, AaB on the red, and we talked to Bloodsteel last week about if he had anything up his sleeves for drafts this week, and he said that he's got the team have been practicing a couple of interesting things. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay. So always very fun when teams want to pull out some spiciness. Of course, Domino in the earlier weeks as well, very heavy on a lot of the crowd control that they're bringing inside of their drafts. It made it very, very oppressive to play just about anything, it felt like. And that's one of the core things, right? Sort of lowering the floor of execution on a lot of these team comps. If you do it through CC, you do it through CC. It was working for Domino very early on. Obviously still 3-5. And, this matchup in general, I think very, very important for both of these teams, especially AaB, because if they beat Domino here, they're tied in the standings with Domino. Whereas for Domino, if they win this, they put themselves in that sort of, middle of the pack with the Mixer to keep themselves in a comfortable position in the playoffs race. As picks and bans go through pretty quickly. Thresh, Zinzao, Zeri, and Riven all removed away Ripped. Quite constantly has that one banned away from him. I'm not too sure if he has managed to pick it up again in my own absence personally, but Jinx will stay on the ban table. Of course, a lot of talk still at this moment in time about, how strong Jinx is. Teams kind of variably saying B1 worthy, some saying, tradable between Aphelios and Jinx. I'm personally of the standpoint of she's first pickable. There are picks that can punish her, but it feels like teams, even when they do pick the champions that can kind of punish it, right? Things like Karma Caitlyn inside the lane, whether you trade it for the Aphelios, the Jinx normally just comes out on top. It's just the strength of the champion right now. But Karma will be the first lock in here for Domino. It's something that we still see at most levels of play come in as a very weird B1 from time to time, but the response quite swift. Volibear for Bobas and the Zillion as well, which actually, curiously enough, I did tune into Div 1 yesterday. We did see Zillion top, didn't we? So I wonder whether or not we'll have Gunkus on that.
I mean, I hope not. Gunkus.
I hope not as well. But
the fear for me as well is if there's a team that's going to run Smite top,
Zillion. I mean, I think yesterday...
I don't know, Domino have a look about them. And we saw Karma top being played in that Smite roaming style last weekend in the LCL. Whether we see that again is a question. The Viego is a more standard pickup, but we'll have to wait and see. The Caitlyn's available on the table as well, as you've already mentioned. But they're just starting. It's going to be the Victor locked in, so getting themselves that strong mid-jungle individually.
Yeah, okay, so no... bottom laner potentially locked in on the bottom side. I do still expect the Karma will be in the hands of Denden or Chris. Ziggs will be the answer on the opposite end, though. So if this does end up going into Shaolin in the mid lane, obviously the Ziggs can kind of outrange the Victor if you're talking like super max ranges. Of course, the wave clear pretty much comparable as soon as you hit that sort of level 7 mark when you got 3 points, 4 points in your E and the Q respectively between the Victor and the Ziggs. It just turns into a bit of a wave clear armor. Well, just stalemate, right? So things like Herald, first Herald, second Herald in particular, are going to be very, very important for both of these teams to either pick up or deny, especially on the side of AaB, because you get the first Herald, if you're able to pick that one up, then all it really takes is the second Herald to knock down that tower in the mid lane, or you get it low enough in the first place to actually get the satchel down from Blue Ben and break that. So mid lane tier 1, very, very high value in this game. Start to get that in your mind because of the high wave clear already available to both of these teams. But second ban phase, Camille, Aatrox already removed away respectively from Ripped and Gunkus. Could see things like the Set, the Jax, as well removed away. Tryndamere as well, another one. Could also look at something like a Graves. A lot of these AD split pushing top laners are basically the pool that is being pinched at the moment from both of these teams. Of course, at least Gunkus wasn't having the strongest of performances in the earlier stages. Cleaned it up a little bit, but still, we'll see what they end up putting him on the top side. Graves is the final remove away, and yeah, happy to see that. Graves is just an obnoxious champion, and Tristana will be the lock-in. So it looks like we'll be seeing that one on Khan, as Domino now have the options of what support, top, AD. The Karma is kind of flexible. It kind of depends on what way they want to go about this draft. So it's more or less on Bloodsteel and the rest of the roster to place this Karma.
I mean, they've got stuff in the top lane that they could throw in, like the Renekton. We've seen a Nara bit as well. It's going to be the Leona locked in, which means that the Karma will be going up towards that top side, you've got to imagine, with the Victor already being there. So it's just going to be a marksman unless they're wanting to put the Victor down into the Tristana, which I don't foresee that being super good for the Victor. We'll have to see what they decide to put up alongside it. There's still stuff like the Aphelios available, which is just a very strong marksman in the current meta. The Varus I've seen a little bit. The Caitlyn is still on the table. The Akshan is there, but in the bot lane?
I'm not too sure. I mean, obviously, when Akshan came out, a lot of people were kind of like scratching their heads. Where's this champion supposed to go? Is it supposed to be mid, top, AD?
It's Leona Karma bot, isn't it?
It has to probably be Leona Karma bot. I think that's the only real lane duo that you have out of the champions that you have that can go in the bottom and top lanes. And they should just send Akshan top here into what I'm imagining will be locked in as the Ornn. So that's going to be Zilean plus that Tristana on the bottom lane with the Karma and the Leona bottom side. So the Leona obviously gives Domino at least a little bit of access to some hard engage, which they were certainly sorely lacking before that. And of course the Leona, or rather the Karma, can obviously buff up some of the more slightly immobile champions. But on the opposite side, a little more traditional, right? Looks like we're going to get Trist mid just to be able to bully out the Victor potentially. I don't know how much I like it. I think at the end of the day, if Trist in the mid lane, she's getting more solo XP, she's going to turn into more of a carry in her own right than whether she was in the bottom side of the map. At least when you're talking about sort of that mid game spike. So Blueben piloting that one. And of course, they're still going to have the option to be able to send the Ziggs into the mid lane eventually anyway to sort of stalemate out the wave clear situations. So a little more front to back, right? You've got Tristan, you've got Ziggs, you've got double front line inside the Volibear and the Ornn, and of course Zilean to kind of just irritate a lot of what the Domino comp wants to do. And this Zilean pick could, honestly, at face value, dismantle a lot of what Domino can do, simply because they only really have one true form of hard engage, and typically you're looking at single target CC from there. And of course, you can hit multiple people with that solar flare and the stun, but normally the follow up on that typically tends to be only one person. That Zilean is going to do a lot to band-aid that for AaB. So a lot to work with on both sides. I think the setup is there, not only in the early game, but in the later stages as well. It's more about what kind of early game plan these teams come into this matchup with. Because I think if you're looking at Tristana, Ziggs, Ornn, it's very clear you're just going to be playing mid, you're going to be playing bot. And on the opposite side, you're probably going to be playing into that Akshan lane. So expect maybe even a map split if we're talking super volatile map states here.
I'm just fascinated to see how this Domino Esports competition plays out, because it's got all the pieces that you'd think you'd need late game. Yeah, it's lacking a little bit of hard engage, but if the Leona gets a good engage off, or if you can get kind of a stampede with the Mantra E off Karma, running in with stuff like the Viego, getting in the mix, and maybe you start fights that way, it's a little bit less optimal, but it can be done. But the fact is, early game, Karma Leona in the bot side doesn't really do all that much.
Not into the likes of a Ziggs and a Zilean. It's going to be hard for them to, gain priority in the early levels, level sort of 1 through maybe even 4. And I mean, even beyond that, to be honest with you, it more or less depends on how much work the Karma can get done, because the Leona is effectively just going to be sitting there waiting for the jungler to come down, waiting for Viego to come down, and then actually try and find some setup onto either one of these two bottom laners. So yeah, like you're saying, I think priority on the bottom side is going to be firmly in the favor of AaB. And again, on the Domino side, you can play through mid. It's a little bit difficult. You have to sort of play reactively, wait for the Tristana to try and get aggressive. But if she's getting aggressive, it's normally going to be a 2v2. Trists don't normally get aggressive in competitive play unless they see a really easy window to abuse, or they have their jungler behind them as well.
Well, we're going to find out exactly how these two competitions play, because we're going to be jumping onto the Rift for our first
Oh,
game
no.
of the day. Domino looking for something aggressive early. Gunkus is going to be forced to flash as Denden just marshalling him under tower, but getting the flash away from Ornn. Hey, that's a gankable top lane right there.
Absolutely. And not only that, it was Denden that actually blew the flash before we came into live. It looks like in the back of the Baron pit, maybe just to avoid a ward, and collapses onto Gunkus. And now, like you said, it just makes for a very, very easy gank setup in the top side. Sidon and Ripped, all Ripped really has to do is just chunk out Gunkus anytime he walks up, try and get that wave stacked, follow through. And you can already see Sidon starting on the red buff, which innately says to me he's going to end up top very early on. And yeah, like kind of predicted this. Just back of the pit flash. Obviously, Gunkus covering here. It's a very classic place to cover. If the rest of Domino were just a touch closer before Denden approached that bush, could very easily be first blood. But still, the early game plan works. What they're aiming for was at the bare minimum the flash. And now it's going to be about how Gunkus plays on the weak side up there. Bobust is actually pathing up towards the top side. He's not going to be pathing towards the lanes where he's going to have guaranteed priority. So watch out for how he paths and whether or not he's actually going to have access to things like Scuttle Crab at all. As Sidon will stop off at the Raptors before he goes towards the top side. And I'm really hoping that Domino do try for this top side divers. Look at this. Gonkus forced away from so much CS. Looks like he missed at the very least 1 melee creep of XP. If Ripped can do his best to try and keep him a little bit further away, he'll miss 1 more range as well. 1 more range gone.
Oh, that's rough. And I think
Even
this
maybe that melee as well. Sorry, go on.
This is what I was going to ask you about, actually, because I've seen a couple of Akshan tops into melees, and it has universally been very, very unpleasant for the melee champion. Is this lane going to be any different?
Yeah, I really don't think it's going to be any different, unfortunately. Most ranged into melee.
Ooh, into the mid lane. Bobass gets the damage down the bomb. First blood goes over to Blueburn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just easy setup, right? Triss just rocket jumps forward. Even with a flash, Shaolin is not able to escape his double flash. Or rather, only just Bobass flashing to confirm the CC. And that's all they really need. Now, this wave is stacking in the top side, but I'm not too sure what the plan is, because Sidon now, seeing that Bobass did a free camp clear into the mid lane gank, looking to interrupt the farming pattern, maybe, of the Volibear. Just going to sit here, wait on the smite. I think that'll be his best bet, but it being pulled out, he might think he's on vision, might show early. And he will do.
He showed a little early. Going to try and get some damage down. Steals away the buff, but Volibear should be able to move back into mid lane. Takes a stab in the back on the way out, but Ripped was the first to respond. Ripped was the first to respond as Akshan is all over the place. But now we're going to move directly into the gank mid. Nice stun mid-air to get the damage down to Tristana, but the flash is available. Diving on through.
Oh my God.
Can't get the kill, though. The bomb is there. It will be secured in the end as
No
there's the regen jumps out as Tristana. Bobass unable to find anyone just yet. As AaB lose their first member.
Like, how bad does that feel? As Blueburn to just see Akshan swinging around your tower like he's the Prince of Persia. Gets dropped underneath it. Great stuff from Domino to respond to everything going on there. Sidon with the invade. Ripped also rotating down from the top side as well. Great stuff, and barely going to miss too much. I mean, even if he's going to be down in XP a little bit, even if Gonkus gets now a little bit more free time, damage is kind of done towards the mid lane. They've sort of stemmed the bleeding. There you go, got there in the end. Of the potential lead that was going to grow in the mid lane. I think Domino can be okay for now. I think we've got a replay coming up of that mid lane play. So yeah, it's just, of course, Sidon coming out of the top invade, and then only that, because of all the priority that Ripped has had for the entirety of the laning phase so far, just makes the roam down. I mean, this is just obnoxious. From the front of the tower to the back, flash forward from Sidon to secure with the Blade of the Ruined King. Very clean execution from the Domino top jungle duo. Now AaB, I think, still going to be okay with the game state, all things considered, right? You've got Zillion, you've got Ornn, you've got 2 kind of hyper-scaling carries inside of Trist and Ziggs. It's not like this is a disastrous game state at all. Domino, though, obviously have many scaling aspects of their composition as well, but the only thing they're really lacking is like true front line away from the Leona, because of course Leona is not going to have all of the stats in the world outside of just, you know, pressing W, having Aftershock. Outside of that, she will be relatively squishy. She's not going to have all the access that like a solo lane tank would or a jungle tank would. As AaB maybe setting up for a dragon takedown, seeing pings on it. Bottom side priority is firmly in their favor, and mid lane priority as well looks like is theirs. So this Ocean Dragon will go down to AaB. Looks like Domino know this. I'm not going to try and contest it at all. Sidon opens out onto the top side. Probably just going to look for some camps to take away. Maybe a mid lane gank if he really fancies himself. But I think just going for the camps here makes the most sense. To try and cross map. It's always what you want to see. If you're giving up an objective, you always want to try and cross map in the early games. If it's the dragon, you want to try and cross map 2 camps at the bare minimum, because it's around 180, 200 gold in flat stats plus the XP. And then you have to think about like this on a 1-to-1 to Bobass. You're taking that away as
needs to be careful. Has the jumps in place for the damage. Thinks he's got the fight, but the ultimate coming through from Ripped will even up the scoreline. Not going to get the kill, but very, very close actually. And he's going to move on back to lane. Not really looking to use that ultimate on the Ornn, so nothing really lost. And close run thing from Domino there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sidon maybe putting a little bit too much respect on Blueburn. Blueburn's damage. I kind of obviously understand it. Hail of Blades, Ignite is on you. You don't want to get 100 to 0'd randomly. But if you know you've got the support of Ripped coming down, just a little bit of miscalculation, unfortunately, on their end. Likely could have taken that one. But Blueburn does cover, of course, Bobass from losing the Krugs as well, which does feel nice on the Volibear side of things. But midwave mostly missed, it looked like. I think maybe got about 4 creeps. So actually falling behind a little bit 1-1 in the matchup where it should be favorable for the Tristana, very least in the early farming stages, as Ripped. It's just unpleasant. As you
It
can see,
is, and
enough
now
is
he's
on
getting
here.
ganked in. Gunkus is like, please, just leave me alone. The flash has been used, but a stun will come through as well. And that's going to be an easy kill for Domino on the top side. But actually, I say that, Volibear and Zillion are coming up to try and even up the playing field. Rip just hiding in the bush. Sidon doesn't really have the opportunity to do so. Has the ultimate available, though. It's a 2v1, unless Rip wants to get involved. But he's just slinking around, saying, hello, Sidon. I'm not here to help. I'm just here for moral support. But that's all that Viego needs to get away.
Yeah, Sidon did commit his ultimate there a little wishy-washily. I think maybe because Denden was on his way. Maybe the communication on where the positioning was from the support was a little bit off. But either way, Domino get away with that topside play. Bobas and Tun not able to actually try and make a trade happen. And Ripped, not actually as far ahead as you would maybe anticipate him be, given the impact that he's had on the mid lane as well. But of course, did rush the early mercs, so gonna delay his mythic just by a little bit, but still sitting very, very comfortably in that top side, and will be for quite a while.
I'm just curious to see what Domino are gonna do next with this game, because coming up to 8 minutes now, want to be getting a little play on Rift Heralds being started up already by AaB. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of response, really. You can see Viego's on those Krugs, just seemingly happy to give this one away, but it's first Rift Herald. We talked about this being crucial for the mid lane matchup and for the game state as a whole. And you're going to lose the 2-wave lead that you've got on the Victor by giving this one away.
Yeah, most likely. So, Herald is AaB's. And like we spoke about in the draft, picking up the Herald on either side, a really good pickup or denial, whichever point of view you look at it from. So if they're able to drop that in the mid lane, that's just going to make the tower just about weak enough for eventually Khan to walk up. And of course, satchel the tower, come potentially the second Herald, or if it just gets chipped out a little bit. I think Domino for now, kind of comfortable to sit back, but I don't really feel like they want to sit back for too much longer. I think they want to try and hit that first item spike on the Viego, and Sidon Ripped as well, first item. And Chris looks like he's going to be going into a support item, whether it's, of course, the Moonstone or the Shurelya's yet to see. Normally on Karmas, you tend to see Shurelya's more in comp. But in this game, Moonstone might not be too bad. We'll see what he ends up doing, though, of course. I think as the sole enchanter on the team and the kind of comp you have, there's enough mobility between most of the carries that I don't know if you really need Shurelya's, but being the sole engage, it might be necessary. Xiaolin could get flashed on.
Gonna flash away. There's a third member of AaB hanging in the wings. It's stun on the Zillion. As teleport going to be used by Khan down onto that bot side once again to clear out waves and to pick them up. But Xiaolin is definitely the lightning rod. Is in the top lane. Rip needs to be a little bit careful. He's just going to try and kite away from the Ornn. Takes a bit of a beating, but he's going to be able to shoot back. The call of the Forge God is going to be used. Nice knockup coming through from Gunkus, but he's not going to be able to get anything down. And the kill is going to happen in the mid lane just before Rip gets the kill on the top side. AaB finally make the gank work. And they pick up the kill onto Victor.
Yeah, Xiaolin no flash, just an immediate repeat gank, it seems like. This time with the help of the Zillion speed up. But the cover is there from Denden, from Sidon. Bobas not going to drop the Herald on the top side. Looks like they're just going to go for the Dragon for now. They still got a fair amount of time on the Herald. It's ticking on the HUD, so unfortunately I can't quite tell you. But I think the pickup came in at like 9.5 minutes, so they still got around 90 seconds on. Yeah, Zillion speed up. Right. Xiaolin's not even necessarily too out of position or away from his tower, but when you've got a Volibear walking at you, or rather running at you, with that much movement speed, it's really hard to do much without flash. And we'll pay for it with his life. Looks like, yeah, 2 minutes still left on that Herald. Close to really 90 seconds as Gunkus, walking into two members, has no flash.
Oh, misses the stun though. Gonna have to ult from Sidon to pick up this kill, and it wasn't clean, but they got the job done. It's another one over to Domino, the top side.
Yeah, and I mean, now we're seeing the kind of abuse I was expecting from the very get-go in this game. Ripped now going to be getting more solo plates here on the top side. Gunkus really suffering to play the weak side here, and it's just more a credit to when and how Domino have attacked the top side over the last couple of ganks. Gunkus, for the most part, not really had flash, and now again another repeat gank towards Shaolin. Can actually retreat towards Denden this time around, and will do so. But you can tell the attention from AaB. They really want to drop this Herald in the mid lane. But because Shaolin and Denden, they're sitting in this top brush, this mid lane tower is actually undefended entirely. So now this is going to get chunked out.
Oh,
Let's take
can't get
right
caught out by the ultimate. The Xenoblade comes through as well, but there's the Zillion ultimate. The Resurrect is going to come on through on to that player as Tun running away. Nice ultimate from Bobass will secure the first kill of the fight proper. As Denden and Chris just going to try and keep the Volley Bear caught up. A decent amount of damage is going down to Leona, though. He's going to be forced to scurry away. Very close run fight in the end, but it will be AaB with the charge and the single kill.
Yeah, I mean, AaB probably happy walking away with that one, but look at the top side, ripped. He picked up in the entire tower. He's got the Kraken Slayer. He's back out onto the map now. He's covering the bottom side. He's catching another big wave for himself. This Akshan is absolutely massive. And not only did he pick up the Kraken Slayer, he picked up a component, a full component already towards that Wit's End. Yeah, I mean, mid lane play starts off with this Herald getting dropped. Then tries to find the execute between him and Chris. But unfortunately, Zillionar's there, and Shaolin's just walking melee range into Bobass. The healing and the shielding from Karma does come through, and of course, that's what happened to Tun in the top side. Gets sniped off by the Akshan, who was rotating down with Sidon, and the play just dissipates from there. But you can see, I feel, if Domino make plays where they know Ripped can make a rotation in, whether it's a half rotation or a full rotation to actually join the fight, then Domino can find a lot of success. On the opposite side for AaB right now, a lot of their gold is actually funneled into Blueben, so they need to start fighting around him. As top side Sidon trying to pick on Gunkus, isolated alone, 1v3.
Oh, actually flashed away from the Leona ult, but the Xenoblade hasn't been used, and there's no tower there, remember, so it's going to be a simple enough kill. Going to be given over to Ripped once again. And you say the Tristan is big, but this Akshan, even bigger.
Oh, Tun, no, leave the tower. I know you want your first flank stacks. Give the solo gold to Blueben. You absolutely need to funnel this guy the gold, but now that people have shown up, maybe this can turn into a dive.
Oh, I think it will. It's a 2v3. The tether's being used. The tower is down. And so is Shaolin on the Victor. Once again, Chris will be able to run away. But this Victor is, as we say, a lightning rod for all of this aggression. But in the top side, Ripped is getting all the more free time.
He's getting so much free time. He's going to half health this tier 2. I think that next wave comes in so he can just stand there and order the tower. No, okay. AI is absolutely horrible for him. As he will just clear out the rest of the wave, likely go for a reset, maybe pick up the Crocs before he goes back to base. Has a fair amount of gold to spend. Or he can just rotate down to the mid lane. He's got a lot of time on his hands, to be honest with you, and that's the obnoxious thing about this camouflage. Stays on permanently. He doesn't actually have to do anything here, as, yeah, here you go, gonna skip out on this blue ward, and this could give him an angle if somebody, it's like we're watching a Mission Impossible or a Splinter Cell. We're watching Splinter Cell.
Really is Sam Fisher.
Yeah. He's trying to sneak up on Khan. I mean,
he's still there.
Oh, my word. Well, he has nothing to do in the top side, right? So this is absolutely perfect from Ripped because he's getting information. He's in the position where he could potentially actually find an assassination as well. Doesn't seem like he's got too much gold to actually spend, so totally happy to do this. It's just like, I can just hear the Jaws music, you know? Like every time he steps a little bit too,
he's going back.
He's gonna reset now. But
after all that.
But of course, actually, Reed, if we could get a toggle over to the gold, I'm just curious to see how much everyone's sitting at the moment. No big surprise about the top side deficit at all. Mid lane, though, makes a lot of sense. Blueben had a lot of time and resources funneled into him. He got that bottom side tower, so he's sitting 1.5k up. But everywhere else is about at parity, with the exception of maybe the bottom side, if you want to bring up that 400 gold lead for Tun. As Domino trying to check into the river here. AaB are going to meet them.
Be caught out, stunned. He's going to have to use his ultimate on himself as he gets resurrected immediately, but can't get the first kill of the fight onto Sidon. Ripped is here now, though. What can he do? He's got all the kills. He's got all the money. Blueben picks up another kill. And it's going to be AaB securing 2 for 0. Ripped does still have ultimate available, but there's no one within sniping range or health. Gunkas moving into the mid lane could be the victim, though. Could be the target. He's going to get shot up. One more auto might be enough, and it will be. Don't want to pick up a return kill. Now onto Blueben. Is that enough damage? It's going to be blocked out by Tun. Some of it, at least. As the Dragon is started up. This will be Soul Point, remember. He's diving on through, but will get knocked away into the volley. Then the shutdown goes on to Shaolin. He's got the reset. What can he do? Not very much for AaB. I'm potentially thinking about contesting this Dragon. They want to get themselves Soul Point. It's 3v3. As Rick, though... Trying to get the damage down onto Tom. Won't be able to do that. The Dragon is stolen away by Chris. And now, swinging into action, Rip picks up another kill. It's a double for Double O Action. as he swings over to those minions. But Domino, it was touch and go. They had us in the first half, not going to lie, but they secure the play.
It's the worst kind of disaster for AaB as Domino secure the play. Chris steals the dragon away, and that was really one of AaB's only strong conditions for now to kind of keep that bridge going for them as they're slowly starting to lose out on the map pressure here. Of course, their comp still does scale, but it just feels so oppressive right now. Ripped is so damn fed. The only hope at the moment is people like Shaolin, kind of weak, but I mean, you look across the board, Chris is going to propel Ripped, Sidon, Den. It's all of these champions going to be online until Victor comes online. And that's just going to mean that they're going to be stronger for AaB for a little while. Now, the initial part of the fight actually starts out really well for AaB because they burst down Sidon. Sidon has to retreat. Den gets chunked out and actually just ends up dying to all the damage that Blueben can put out because he's so fed right now. But just keep your eyes on Ripped because so many low health bars, a lot of scoundrel stacks as well for the additional gold. Gonkus just steps too far forward to clear this wave, not respecting the fact that Ripped is stealth, can execute it from that HP. And fortunately for Blueben, able to rocket jump behind Tun for safety. Otherwise, certainly would have died to all of the execute damage. And let's just get a slowdown eventually when Karma does get this kill. As again, another kill comes in on to Blueben. As I don't know, is it just the Mantra Q? It could have been anything. I'm pretty sure it was the Mantra Q. Bobas just doesn't quite get the smite damage down. But a lot of burst comes in this very moment. Zillion Bomb, it's just the Mantra Q. 58 HP was the last tick before that Q dealt damage to the dragon. Unfortunate for Bobas. And that's the difference between AaB sitting one dragon away from Hextech Soul and not. And Bobas, whilst he was in that replay, had to blow the flash. Plus his ultimate to survive. And now this Herald will charge into two of the mid lane towers. Chunked out. AaB really suffering under the pressure. What Domino can put down at the moment. 802 on Ripped. 2 items. Could execute Khan if he steps too far forward. Tun, fortunately, in his back pocket to ensure this won't happen. But I mean, he's going to walk dead into vision.
Oh, that's a lot of damn.
Okay. It happens so fast. Tun can't even. I love it.
Tun just walks into a room, sees a corpse, and just closes the door and walks away again. Because he's like, no, I don't know, man.
Have you seen that clip of, I can't remember what animated series of Batman it is, but it's one of the goons walks into a room that Batman's looting, and he just looks at Batman. Batman looks at him, and they just make an agreement. Oh, Ripped.
Ripped is actually probably going to go down here. Blueber's got enough damage, but he's got support from the Viego. He survives on a sliver of health. Teleport coming through now. So Domino looking to hunt rabbits. They get the damage down. Nice ultimate from Blueberg to get away from Viego for now. But here's the snipe. Rest in peace. Ripped in peace, I should say, as Domino pick up another.
Yeah, ripped to pieces, Blueberg. Gets the 1v1 turned on him by multiple members of Domino. Bobas trying to find something in the top side. Just going to be pushed away from Shaolin as this is a funny looking replay. I'm sorry, making fun of our producer because he said replay coming up, but then we transitioned straight back onto live.
I was very confused. I was like, oh, where are we going now, Reed? Oh, we're back live again. Great stuff.
Oh, okay. I like it. So, hopefully we'll have that ready in a second when nothing too crazy is going on in the game. But Dragon 90 seconds already away from respawning here. But Domino are 5,000 gold up, pretty much, or 5,500 if you want to be a little bit semantic. Or 4.5 rather. I can't maths. I'll go into the replay, maybe our producer says.
There we go.
Here's the execution, and I mean, it just happens so fast that Tun isn't expecting Khan to die. I mean, yeah. It's one of those things where, you know, if you're Ziggs, especially if it's solo queue, like, yo, why didn't you army? Where's my Zillion here? I should be alive. But then also as Tun, are you expecting 600 burst damage to come out from like an auto attack plus the Avengerang actually making the return? Not too sure. It's a bit of a tough call to make, but nice pick from Ripped nonetheless. 10:02 now, making his way towards that Lord's Doms. So he can shred through Gonkus and Bobas, who are actually very tanky members, but when it comes to dealing with a 3-item or a potential 3-item action at sub 25 minutes, I don't know how tanky you can really be as Ripped. Yeah, just somebody get the Splinter Cell music going. He's on the hunt, but now that he's on stealth, bit of a
he could actually be in some trouble. As AaB looking to collapse on him, the rest of Domino trying to save him, but he will be able to swing away, but he swings a little bit too short. as the stun comes through onto Todd. It's only as slow, actually, as the call of the Forge God will re-engage, but it's going to re-engage onto everyone but Ripped, as he's on the side, looking to get damage down onto the Orb. Wow, that's a lot of damage. Aside on the side, looking towards Bombast. The Zillion ultimate has been used on the volley bear, so now they can push forward in earnest. Gonka's going to be caught up. The ultimate lands onto him as the reset comes on through for Viego. Domino pick up 1 kill. Chris is a mighty bit too low for any continuation, though, as they move towards the dragon.
Yeah, I will say, whilst that did obviously look good for Domino, as Chris says, no, I'm not. Heals back to full HP of the Mantra W.
Yeah, okay. Right.
The front to back, you could actually see from the potential of AaB's composition there, the front to back damage wasn't too bad, especially talking about a 2-item Tristana, item and a half from the Ziggs. If they can get online, it's great, but Tun caught out dead. Nothing to say about that. And Domino are probably going to turn this into a Baron. Gunkus does have teleport, but it's still going to be a 4v5, which Domino likely going to be happy to try and flip this one for.
Yeah, Domino, 5 members, 4 members on AaB. They haven't got the Zillion, but they've got everyone else. They're going to be able to spot out the Baron at about half health, but Ripped isn't even doing it. He's just trying to keep people away, but he's going to go to half health. Needs to be careful, caught out, needs to run, but will be shut down by Blueburn. And just like that, Domino, not feeling so confident about the objective anymore, will back away. 40-second death timer on the Akshan for his first death. 11-1-3. Real solo queue scoreline. But that was a real solo queue play.
Yeah, it was indeed. But now we have to actually hover over the gold, please, Reed, because Blueburn picked up a 1,000 gold shutdown. He's got 2.3k gold at 2 items. That's going to slingshot him towards that Infinity Edge already, especially if AaB allow him to just farm up that bottom side jungle. Going to be nice to Bobass, however. So right now, if you're an AaB support, Blueburn is the man to look towards on this Tristana. He's going to probably pick up BF plus that pickaxe. I think he probably has enough gold for an agility cloak. Never mind, I can't maths. He's good. But that means he is about 1.3k gold, 1.4k gold away from finishing that Infinity Edge. And once he gets that, he's going to shred through most of this Domino lineup. Because again, as highlighted, the front to back is favorable for AaB. Simply because Domino just don't really have more than one traditional frontliner, even then, just because the way Domino's comp is going to work when it comes to these team fights. You're not looking at front to backs for Domino. Yes, you do have, the Victor, and yes, you've got the Karma and the Owner, but you're looking to die with the Akshan, with the Viego. Sidon takes negative damage because of the shields from Chris.
And the burn did a little bit.
All right, sure.
At the end.
Right, But
positive trade.
I will say, happy to see the Moonstone come out. I think it makes a little more sense in the Shurelias. Enough of your composition has the mobility to survive on its own. Yes, Shaolin, of course, on the Victor, very, very immobile, but you can pick up things like the Zhonya's to try and negate some of the dive that will eventually come through, or the ultimates that can be very disruptive to you. So just sitting in that death ball with your divers, with the Leona, just to heal up and increase the shield amount that you can get, I think a little more valuable than the Shurelia's movement speed, as AaB on the opposite side kind of want to rely on the movement speed to try and find some picks between the Zidian, between the Shurelias of their own, speeding up that volley bear. Let's try and get him onto a backline. A pretty big deal here. It could get caught.
Volley bear's been caught out here. A lot of CC, but will be able to ult away. Has the Zillion ultimate side on. Forced to flash for ult forward, but can't find anything. Ripped on the hunt. Going towards Khan, gets a decent amount of damage, but isn't going to be able to find anything through the flash. The ultimate's going to wind on through, but the last shot lands into Turn, which might have actually saved his life.
I mean, I'm not sure if the last bullet would have dealt like 350 damage, but I mean, it's just scary to think about that. We're considering the fact it could have at this moment in the game, as he is 3 items ripped, and now another Baron start. Domino, at the moment, it has been a bit of an Achilles heel for them, trying to get this Baron down in the last 5 minutes in terms of the tempo that they'd built up in the mid-game transition phase. Now, firmly in the mid-game, approaching the later stages. Domino still sit pretty comfortably. Shaolin has a death cap. Third item almost in for Chris, ripped, making his way towards what I could only imagine with the Dirk as a collector, but why not go IE is my question, Mr. Ripped.
Because if he had collector, he would have killed Ziggs in that last play.
All right, sure. I feel like he would have maybe done it with
Yeah, but he wouldn't have got the extra 50 gold.
That's also true. So
financially, we were talking about economics before we came on broadcast, actually.
That we were.
Fiscally prudent build path coming through from Ripped, as
I like
it. Might be called outside on just getting 1 stab and then will Scarper. But the Dragon's going to be on the table in the not too distant future. And AaB don't want to be giving up Soul Point to Domino. Because remember, it wasn't that long ago before Domino was stopping them from grabbing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is right now for AaB is that I don't really feel as though they're strong enough. Ton. Like, obviously, we'll ignore the top side discrepancy because it is such an anomaly in this game. But you look across the rest of the board, AaB's items aren't actually too terrible when you compare it into Domino's. So you can make the argument, yes, we can fight into Domino right now as AaB. But I think Ripped is just too much of a force to be reckoned with. Then going to eat up stun, but no one's there to really follow up on it. Then actually on the wrong side of the map compared to where his team is. Could have realistically given his own life away if there were more members in that bush with Tun. But people have to catch the mid wave now. And then just on a bit of an adventure whilst the rest of the team hovers around the bottom side of the map.
Just allowed that dragon to be secured. And there it is.
And that will put them at that soul point. And 3 Hextech Dragons is actually nothing to sneer at. I think it might be, aside from like saying, 3 Infernals, which, how much percent does Infernal give per dragon? Is it 6?
I think it's...
Or is it lower than that? It might be lower.
6, maybe.
Hextech Dragon, 4%. Okay, 4% AP and AD. Hextech Dragons, there's 6 haste and 6 attack speed. That's not a bad thing to have stacked over 3 times. Especially when you have, 2 spellcasters as well, an extra 18 haste. Doesn't feel terrible at all, especially for the Victor whose build is pretty light on ability haste. For the most part, of course, the Leandries and the passive will give him a little bit and just pick up a Fiendish Codex. But especially if you look at Karma's build, quite heavy on the... Actually, it's not quite heavy on the haste, it's just the boots and the moonstone. So a lot of efficiency from that dragon when you think about it, and just because they've got spellcasters, and Ripped, of course, will also enjoy the attack speed given.
I'm
now
just...
Domino.
I don't know, I was just seeing what's going to happen next, because Domino, they seem to be... They've fallen out of love with this Baron as Blueburn might be in a bit of trouble here. Will get stunned up eventually. Does have to jump if he wants to use it, but he's trying to get some damage down onto the Viego. He's got support behind him, so does the Viego, but the ult's going to have to be used to get away, but he's not going to be able to do so. Burns down to the Ignite. And that could be a big pickup for AaB.
Yeah, it could be indeed. Sitting off the map for a while does give AaB a bit of breathing room. I think that's the important thing they need right now. Just to try and farm up. Khan really needs to make it to that third item. Really needs to make it to that Seraph's. I don't know. I feel like Seraph's is kind of bad in this patch. Or just this season in general since it got changed. Especially if you want to deal damage. Normally you look at... I mean, okay, I was about to go like full-blown LS on this build. Because I really feel like you want Luden Shadow Flame and then Sork Pen Boots. You're working against the Karma and 4 squishies. I'm not saying it's a bad build, but I'm saying it's probably not going to make him deal as much damage as he probably should into the enemy comp.
Oh, he's trying to do the same thing again, but we call out with the Xenoblade and the ultimate. Shallon's doing a lot of damage, but there's Tun's ultimate landing onto Tristana. Going to keep him alive. Jumps back on half health, but our Tun not going to be able to follow through. You can see Gunkas has moved up there. Bluebird as well. Akshan isn't here, but Chris has teleported up to try and disengage his mid laner. But there's the Call of the Forge God. Lands onto the Victor, just scrapes his side. But now coming on through. Nice knock up from the Ord. And now the team fight is happening in earnest. Akshan's a little bit too slow to the punch. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 pick right now.
Whoa.
Diving on forward side, looking for the damage. Jumps on through into the enemy team. But that's the damage that you need. Getting the resets. And now Akshan's here. Free firing onto the Orn. He's going to be melted through. And a very ballsy play coming through from Sidon does work out in the end as Domino, again, will start up the Baron.
Yeah, Domino will start the Baron, but this time there's 3 members dead on the enemy team, so this one looks a little more free than the previous ones. However, 2 of the members alive. One of them includes the enemy jungler, so have to be a little bit careful. Gonna get a little bit of vision. 5k, will he throw his life away for it? He might as well. Just Hail Mary. He's in the pick.
On through, taking a lot of damage, goes golden. This is going to be very, very dangerous times. The ultimate has been burned, and they're going to get the kill. That's good discipline from Domino as they pick up the Baron as well. I was very worried for a second because I saw Volibear slay Baron, but of course Sidon stole away the form. Woo! A little bit close for Domino. Grab it in the end.
Yeah, very, very scary. As replay, top side, of course, starts off with that Zilean not being blown. Teleport comes in from the Domino members. And just AaB, they go real far for Shaolin. They really want to at least pick up something for this over-aggressive play of trying to save Blue Ben. making an over-aggressive play, in my opinion, in his own right. Kill comes down, trade of the mid laners, and then this flash forward. It looks a little bit audacious from Sidon at first, you have to admit. But I think the bullets look just between everybody, maybe. No, it's just mostly Sidon's own damage executing Khan. And able to force Bobus away, take down the Ornn, and of course Tun and Bobus the only ones left up for this Baron to be taken down by the Domino side. And now Dragon, 30 seconds away. AaB, I mean, you can only contest this soul once. If you give it over, it is a permanent buff. If you lose this contest, you probably lose the game. Given how far ahead Domino are at the moment. You have a lot of wave clear to work with, though. And that's still probably the reason why those tier 2s, and fortunately AaB's base hasn't been cracked open just yet. So scaling's still there for AaB. It's going to take them a little while, but it's something they can still continually lean on. But this XX Soul is going to feel so bad to give over. It will be picked up. Looking for a fight afterwards, maybe. Den a little bit close in.
Den, he's pretty tanky though. They're going to be putting a lot of damage into him, but there's the shield. It's going to be massive. Gunka's going to be chased away now as the ring gauge comes through. That's 2 dead already, 1 on each side. As AaB looking to retreat, but Leona gets back up as they get the kill on Tristana. Rip's an absolute scoundrel, securing that one. Asylum chasing forward towards Khan. The ultimate's going through. How much does this do with the stun coming in as well? That's enough!
Oh my god!
That ain't nice. And now you've got the satchel charge that executes some towers, if you please. That's going to be one and the inhibitor falling down. It looks like Domino could actually try and force through. They've got the Baron buff, Ton on the side, but it's 4v1 in the base. Volibear up on top side doing absolutely nothing.
He knows.
As the laser will chase Zilean away. Domino Esports keeping their dreams of top half alive as they'll grab themselves their 4th win of the season. AaB in dire straits.
AaB in dire straits indeed. Domino, much needed win, dropping here, puts them even standings with AaB. And AaB, of course, a team that at the moment, given form, you really don't want to be dropping games to at the moment. So Domino put themselves at 4 and 5, which of course means they are now kind of, I think, at the moment, temporarily tied 5th, 6th, which of course, very important, depending on how the rest of the games go for today, as we sort of ramp up towards the playoffs race. This win is an important one. It's one you can't really drop. And I think very dominating performance. They didn't really give AaB much room to breathe outside of that first sort of 10, 15 minutes. Once they started to give Rips those resources that we were expecting him to get from the start of the game, it felt like lights out.
I'm very interested to see how the rest of the games go, just because the only game that's really questionable about this bottom of the table matchup now is Rate coming up against Flong. Because if Rate lose out, Domino are tied with them. If all the teams below Domino lose today, which they could, realistically, then things are starting to look a mighty bit healthier for the team that has had a very mixed start to the season. We're going to jump to a short break, but when we come back, it's going to be jumping into interview both of these teams, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.